Lululemon's new drop of daily essentials feels like a deep breath of fresh air. Breezily is a collection of drapey pants, shorts, and tanks designed to mix and match with your wardrobe as the weather warms up. It's all made in our lightweight, stretchy Swift fabric. Throw on these everyday staples after practice and bring an airy feel to your daily moves. Shop the Breezily collection now at lululemon.com.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie, and I am really happy that you're here today because I am on a high right now. I'm celebrating a milestone. It's my 200th episode, aired this past Sunday, and I had an incredible guest. If you haven't listened to it, go back and check it out. This woman's mission is truly inspiring. It's fire. I really mean that. And I'm so incredibly grateful that I've had so many amazing conversations with amazing women who are changing the world. Like literally, I see them, what they're doing, and they're truly making changes in the world that are going to be legacy, right? Legacy changes, long lasting. They're going to have a ripple effect. The things that they're doing are going to have a ripple effect. And I just know it's going to just changing the world in such a great way. And so I am so excited. So thank you so much for being a part of the show, for listening in. If you're a repeat listener, thank you so much. I really appreciate your dedication to coming and listening, not only to my guest episodes, but to mine as well. I really appreciate it because I got a lot of great feedback from those of you who listen that you also are loving my content as well. So thank you for that. And for those of you who are new or just this is the first time you're popping on, thank you so much. You're in the right place to be inspired. I encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes because the women on this show are so amazing. I am just incredibly grateful that I get to have them be a part of this journey with me. So now, you might have noticed today, for those of you who have been listening for a while, I'm popping in on a Saturday instead of Friday. And typically I would be doing my episodes that go live at 12 Eastern time on Fridays. But now I've decided I'm switching it up to Saturdays. And here's why. I talk a lot about alignment and how taking care of your energy and looking after yourself and making sure that the things that you're doing are really going to support your lifestyle. And I realized that I needed to start practicing that exactly with the podcast because this podcast means a lot to me. I love doing my solo episodes, but it can be a lot. And so I realized I just needed a little bit more breathing room in my week to create intentionally. And by shifting to Saturdays, I'm honoring that. So if you're here with me today, you are seeing alignment in action. Anyways, for today, I want to start with pointing out a moment because I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I start talking about this. You know, when somebody asks you to do something and it seems like it's a reasonable request, at least from their side, right? From their side, it's not a hard ask. It's not really an urgent ask. It's not an outrageous ask either. And maybe it's not even something that you technically can't do. But what makes it so hard is that our minds, when we're in those situations, especially if you are, whether you're a people pleaser or you're the capable one, the one that people go to, what our minds start to do is that most times our mouths, they're already responding with a yes, right? And then we just start to rearrange our days. We move one thing over here, we compress something else over there. We borrow a little of our me time at the end of a long day, borrowing a little from the quiet time we thought we were going to have for something that we said matters. And maybe it was one of your favorite things that you do, like you walk with your dog by the lake as the heat of the day starts to melt away because it's summertime, right? Like right now it's summer. And it can be, depending on where you are, it's just too hot to take him or her, your little pup there, for that long walk and, take them to the water so that they can get in their favorite playtime by the water. And maybe that was one of the things that matters to you. Like that's a wind down time. Maybe as you're winding down on that walk, you're also listening into one of your favorite podcasts or an audiobook. Or maybe you're just thinking and you're just allowing your brain just time to rest. Maybe it was the hour that you were going to use to create something for your business, as an example, or the space you're hoping to have where nobody needed anything from you, just so you can just sit and breathe and just be you. And before you've even fully answered, you're already making room for a yes that your energy hasn't agreed to. And that's what I want to talk about today. So I'm just going to take a sip of my tea first because I don't want it to get cold. But one of my favorite things to do is I'm drinking this orange tea, which is apparently is very good for you, orange tea, and I put some honey in it. So give me 1 second. Now, I don't always think, I don't think that this always starts with a big life decision. Sometimes it just starts in those moments where a tiny moment between the request and your response, right? A moment where the outside expectations sound so reasonable to you. But then also on the flip side to that, something inside you is trying to get your attention. Like your inner voice is trying to get your attention. The one that's been maybe that you've been kind of ignoring a little bit, saying, wait, later, I'll get to that later. And if you're like me, and if you've spent years being the woman who knows how to make things work, how to fit things in, because I've talked about that before, I've always been that type of person that I will try to fit things in. That can be very easy to override, right? Because you can do it, right? You know that you can. You can figure it out. You can move things around. You can make the calendar work. Be flexible, be helpful, be the woman who says, sure, I can do that. But just because you can make something work doesn't mean it belongs inside the life that you're building now. Meaning it doesn't always necessarily, you don't always necessarily have to say yes because you always have, right? And that's the conversation I want to lean into today because when external expectations and then our internal alignment, they start competing with each other in the request, in the meeting that gets added, or the favor, or the opportunity, the thing that sounds so good, but then it lands heavy because it's adding onto your plate. In the yes that maybe makes sense to everybody else, but you know it's going to cost you something. I want to talk about that with you because I feel like it's so important that we start becoming aware. Again, this is why I talk about having that decision framework. And I talked about it last week a little bit about having what I call the yes reset method, because it's about learning how to say yes better. It's not necessarily about saying no all the time. It's not about saying no more often. It's about how to actually structure your decisions in a way that supports you. I also today want to bring into the conversation, especially around energy, one of the systems that is designed inside the Yes Reset method, which is the aligned energy system, because I believe this is where a lot of us miss the first signal. And as I said before, most of the time, we think the issue is time. We think I just need to manage my calendar better so that I have time to take on these opportunities that jump out at me out of the blue, or to be able to say yes to someone when they come to me and they need my help. But I want to push back on that because before your calendar gets crowded with stuff, with commitments, with asks, with things that life brings your way, your energy already knows the truth, right? It knows that it's not an unlimited resource without being replenished. And so the thing is, I've been thinking about this actually in my own life because I know what it means to be good at being expected, like to actually say yes, because you've been the go-to person, being the go-to person, the one that's capable, that people look to because they feel like they can count on you. I've spent decades in the legal industry, an industry that's not always forgiving of how you feel because it's like it's a given that you just have to suck it up and push through because there's deadlines that have to be met. So even when someone comes to you and asks you to do something, it sometimes feels like another thing on your pile. Like you feel like you're just, have you ever seen those desks, those memes where they show the person sitting at a desk and they've got like piles that go above their head sitting on their desk and their computer screen is barely visible? That's what I'm talking about. It feels that way. It doesn't necessarily look that way, but it feels that way. When I look back over my 43 years in this industry, can see how much of my life was shaped by being the dependable one, prepared, professional, someone who could always be counted on. And I don't say that like it was wrong, because I don't believe it was wrong in the sense that I was building a life inside an industry that fascinated me, that excited me, and that version of me built something real. I had skill sets, I built trust, relationships, stability, and I learned how to walk into situations and figure things out, right? Not just coming to the table with the problem, but coming to the table with, here's the problem. Here's what I believe is the solution. Let's talk it out. I'm always open to that. And honestly, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the women who learned how to become capable. I built a long career without having everything perfectly mapped out ahead of time. And I'm proud of me because I kept going. But what I'm noticing now is that the same way of being that helped me build one season of my life isn't automatically going to be the one that gets to lead the next season of my life, nor do I want it to be what leads the next season of my life. And if you've been listening in for a while, my episodes have been talking a lot about that, about being at this place in my life where I'm straddling a decision. One with the known of being in the legal industry and one in my coaching. And I don't think I have to choose one over the other. Like right now, I believe that I don't have to choose one or the other. I just felt at some point, because, you're watching what everyone else is doing, you're listening to what other people are saying. And I'm realizing that it doesn't have to be true for me. I can choose when I'm ready, when I built something for myself that feels like it's my time. And so what I've come to learn is that when you're good at something, also, too, people recognize you for it, right? This is why I feel like the inner knowing is so important to be really aware of, because that's when they recognize you for being good at something, they'll keep calling on that version of you. They'll keep trusting that version of you. They'll keep expecting that version of you. And sometimes you'll keep becoming her because you know how to be her. You know how to make things work, how to adjust, how to respond, how to be pleasant, how to keep your reactions less reactionary and more like becoming proactive in how you react to things, knowing how to say, no problem, I've got this, even when you're already thinking, okay, but where am I going to actually fit this in? And that's the part I don't really think that we talk about enough, because an expectation from someone may not be unreasonable, or an opportunity that gets presented may not be bad, right? Like that may be okay. But again, your nervous system at the same time might be saying something like not like this, not right now, not if I have to keep moving myself off the calendar to make things happen. So for me, I think that it's so easy to confuse your ability to make something work with your agreement that it should work that way. And that's so different, because when you've been known as the capable one, you can talk yourself into just about anything, right? You can say, well, it's only one more thing. It's really only one little thing. You can say, it won't take that long. Or you can say, I'll just do it later. I'll get back to myself, like my things or what I wanted to do after I handle this thing. And maybe that may have worked in a season of your life where you were building credibility, where you were trying to maybe prove yourself, when maybe stability was the main thing that you were so focused on. But then again, there comes that point in your life, because again, as I said, this is where I'm at. You start asking different questions, and it becomes less about, can you do this? And more about, do you want to keep doing it this way? Not can you fit it in, but what do you keep moving out of the way to make room for something else, right? That maybe it wasn't on your radar when you got up that morning, wasn't on your radar when you went to work that day or started working in your business, on your business, I should say. That's a different level of honesty. And that's where I'm coming from for this episode. So today I want to look at three things. First, I want to talk about a belief that we could be holding, that you could be holding, that if something sounds reasonable, if it's an expectation of it's expected of me, or I'll get that respect level, then it must be automatically aligned with what I'm doing. Like, okay, someone sees me, they believe that I can do this. It's kind of a reasonable ask, or this is just expected of what I do. This is the person I am. They expect me to be this way. I get respect from this. This is what I want to lean into a little bit. Second, the private cost of continuing to make room for what your energy has already started resisting. Because again, we make room for things a lot of the time because again, that could be that people pleasing. We don't understand or don't feel comfortable saying no. We're looking for external validations. So it's another reason for not saying no. And so when you think about how, okay, there's expectations, I get respect, people look to me, there's a cost to that when you're always making room for everything else and, depleting your energy. And then third, how the aligned energy system, which is part of my framework of the Yes Reset method, can help you notice what's happening before you override yourself again. Because I don't believe it's about becoming unavailable, right? I'm not saying to say no. Again, I always like to reiterate this because it's about saying yes better. It's about understanding your energy. It's about where are you at right now so that you can make sure that if you do decide to fit something in, that you're really able to do it and you're not going to deplete yourself. It's not about becoming unreliable or saying no to everything, like I said. It's more about learning how to hear yourself before your habit of being the capable one takes over the entire conversation. So let's start with this belief first, that if I could do it, I should be able to fit it in, right? That one is very sneaky because it sounds like you're being responsible, right? Mature, professional. It sounds like you're working from integrity. And sometimes, yes, there are things that we do because we are committed to them. There are things that we do. So as I take another sip of my tea, there are things that we do because people are counting on us, right? We do them because they matter. But there's a difference between honoring a responsibility and automatically reorganizing your life around feels like every reasonable request. That matters because a request can sound reasonable, but it can still not be aligned with your day. Like someone comes in the middle of the day, you're already full day and asks you to do something. Can you do it today? It's not going to necessarily fit into your day, but if you're automatically that person that says yes all the time, that can really derail your day, right? A timeline can be understandable and still not fit your capacity. Again, someone could ask you in the middle of the day, can you do this? Can you get this done by whatever time they ask you? And you say, sure, without really recognizing all of the other things on your plate. How is that going to fit in? How much time is it really going to take? And you might not have the capacity, not necessarily time capacity, but energetically. An opportunity can be good and still not be yours for right now. Somebody might offer something to you to collaborate with them. Maybe it just isn't the right timing. A yes can make sense on paper and still not be clean. And I think as a high performing woman, we often miss that distinction because we've been praised for making things work. We've been praised for being flexible, easy to work with, being the one who can handle it. And somewhere along the way, praise becomes a rule that if they ask, I should try to make it work. If I can technically do it, I shouldn't make it complicated. If it matters to them, I should move something around so I can attend to it, so that I can actually do this for them because it matters to them, right? If I say no, or even if I say not right now, will they think I'm being difficult? Will they think I'm not committed? Or will they stop seeing me as the capable one? And again, this doesn't always happen consciously. It's not like we're sit there and we're talking about, okay, today I'm going to override myself. No, it happens so quickly. I always say that we can make decisions within a split second. Really, we can. If something comes across your desk, you can actually especially if it's an opportunity. Let's say, for example, somebody says to you, hey, I have a 5-day challenge coming up, or not necessarily a 5-day challenge. Let's say they have a summit. It's a 5-day summit and they've got these incredible lineup of women and they want you to attend it. And they say, oh, you'll love this. And for you take a look and you're like, wow, what a great lineup. This is fantastic. And you could say yes, because obviously there's a lot of value from this summit. But then you realize, oh, well, first of all, over those 5 days, I've got XYZ. There is absolutely no way I could fit that time in. I've even had people say, well, it's going to be recorded so you can listen back later. And I've just basically pushed back saying, if I don't have the time to watch it live, I won't have the time to watch it back. And so it's just being able to actually understand that you can say it within a quick split second. But, a request can come in and your mind can start solving right away because it will start calculating. Especially if you're gonna say yes, if you are not even thinking about overriding it, right? Because you're not thinking, "I'm gonna override myself." You're trying to figure out all the ways that it could work. Like, you're calculating how much time, what can I move, I need to protect this relationship. I need to protect my reputation. I need to protect the version of myself that people know how to trust. And before your energy, especially before your energy even has had a chance to speak up and actually say, this is what you have on your plate, your capability has already answered for you because you know that you're capable to do it, but energetically, you're not actually putting the two together. And that's what I mean by external expectations and internal alignment competing with one another, because the outside expectation is saying this is reasonable, but your internal alignment is saying yes, but at what cost? The outside expectation might say, well, you can do this, you're capable. Your internal alignment could say, but should I give my energy that I need for what I'm doing right now, that's very important to me, over to this additional ask that I'm not even sure how long it's going to take and how much is it going to take away from me time wise, energetically. The outside expectation could say, this is what you normally do. You always say yes. And your internal alignment could say, well, that might actually be the problem. And that's where I think the conversation is important because it's not that something is wrong. Sometimes it's just that the idea of how you respond and make that decision belongs to an older version of your life, an older way of maybe of how you managed or how you viewed success, an older version of what it meant to you to feel trusted, needed, to prove that you can carry our room, maybe. And maybe that version helped you to get where you are. She got you here, right? But she's not necessarily the one who gets to decide everything now. That's what I'm saying, because you're a new woman. We learn, we grow, and as we learn and grow, we expand, right? We expand on who we are. And sometimes some of the old ways, and I talked about this, old rules need to change. So let's talk about the cost, because I think this is the part that most people don't really see. You see the yes, right? People see the response. They see the work gets done. They see maybe if it was asked to go to a meeting, that the meeting was attended, that the project was completed. They see the professional version of you and they saw that you handled it well, right? But what they don't see is what got moved so that you could do the work or that you couldn't attend the meeting or that you could complete the project. They didn't see the walk that you didn't take, right? Like as I was saying earlier, the one that where you had this idea, this vision in your head. I'm going to take, let's say your dog's name is Rambo, and you want to take Rambo to the lake because you know how much he loves when you throw the frisbee into the water and he goes and gets it. But you didn't take the walk. They don't see that you moved that you canceled that. They don't see the idea that you didn't work on because maybe you're saying like, okay, I know I want to work on this. So I have like, I don't know, tonight, I know I'm going to have a couple hours that I really would like to sit and really dream about it and journal it out and kind of like really brainstorm it. But they don't see that you moved that. They don't see that the dinner maybe that you rushed through because maybe you're with your family and you gulped everything down. And it's like, okay, I have to go and finish something. They don't see the hour that you borrowed from your own recovery time, right? The time that you needed because maybe you had a very demanding day and you just wanted to sit down on your couch, put your feet up on the ottoman and just chill for an hour. They don't see the way that you closed your laptop later than you wanted to and then wondered why you felt irritated by something small, right? They don't see all of that. They don't see the internal math. That's the cost that I'm talking about. And I think we have to name that. We have to think about that because the cost can stay hidden inside the fact that everything still gets done. That's why nobody questions it because the work gets done. The team maybe gets an answer. Your family gets what they need. Your calendar was adjusted to fit somebody else's need so that the deadline was met. And it looks like you're managing, but internally, no one else sees this. Something starts to shift and you might not notice it right away. At first, you might feel like you're a little more tired, a little less patient, a little more disconnected, a little less excited, a little about what you're building, a little more resentful when somebody requests something else. Even if it's a family member, you might snap a little bit, be a little bit snappy, not meaning to, but it happens. And because you're capable, we're our own worst critics and we are mean to ourselves. We'd never dare say the things that we say to ourselves. We'd never say them to other people for the most part. And so you judge yourself. You might think, you start thinking like, why am I reacting this way? It's not even a big deal. But maybe it is a big deal. And the reason why it's a big deal is because you're reacting and you are resentful. And you're not necessarily resentful because of the request, but because what it represents, where it's another moment where your energy wasn't consulted, right? Like you just basically said yes without even taking into account where you were at. Another moment where your life became the flexible piece, right? Another moment where what mattered to you became the thing that could be moved. That's not nothing. And I want to be very clear here. This isn't about becoming selfish or about acting like no one else's needs matter. It's not about refusing responsibility. This is about noticing when responsibility has become the place where your own alignment disappears. Because when that happens long enough, you may still be physically present, still producing, being responsive, leading, but you're not really fully there. You're there in function, but not in energy. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to build a life where I'm technically present for everything and fully available to almost nothing that actually matters to me. That's not the life I want. I don't think that's the life you want either. Because what's the point of building something meaningful if your energy is always being spent somewhere else? What's the point of having the calendar organized if your body is constantly bracing for the next thing? What's the point of saying yes, right? Because what's the point of saying yes? Because it makes sense. If every yes teaches you that your own signals don't matter. And that's why energy has to be part of the decision, not after the fact, but before, during the decision. So it's not that you're never saying yes again. That's not real life. You're also not going to say, I'm going to wait until I have unlimited capacity, because that's not real life either. It's learning to pause before your capability takes over. That's it. And it might sound simple, but it can change everything. Because for some of us, capability answers too quickly. Someone asks, we solve. Someone needs, we adjust. Someone expects, and we become the version of ourselves that knows how to handle it. But the question I want to ask you is, can you slow down long enough to let your energy be part of the conversation? That's why, as I was saying, inside the framework of the Yes Reset method, I have what I call the aligned energy system. This is a part of my work that I do inside the Resilience and Energy Mastery program. So it has 3 parts. You've heard these before, awareness and alignment, but the third one is application. And so I want to walk through those in a practical way so that you can see what, as an example, how it could show up in your Tuesday afternoon when someone sends you a message and then your whole body has a reaction to the actual ask before your mouth says anything. So again, as I said, first step is awareness, noticing what your system already knows before your mind even has time to explain it away. That's really what it is, right? It's that split second. Like I said, you can make a decision within a split second. It's that moment where the request comes in and then something in you tightens or it goes quiet or starts rushing, like your brain starts like going a million miles an hour, and then start negotiating with your time and your energy. Like, okay, I've got this and I've got that. And instead of immediately moving into how can I make this work, this is where you pause and you ask, what just happened to me? Because I feel a certain way, like, oh my gosh, especially if you start to become aware of this. And it's not necessarily what should you say or how do you make them uncomfortable or how to protect the image of being easy to work with. It's more like shifting it to back to you, asking yourself, what happened to me? Did my energy open up? Did it contract? Did I feel clear or did I feel pressured? Did I start rearranging my life before I even decided if I wanted to say yes? That's where the awareness piece comes in, right? Because then, as I said, it can happen within a split second. This sounds like it's a lot, that it would take a long time. But honestly, again, if you are self aware enough of what you've got on your plate and you understand what's on your plate, you can go through and quickly look at that ask, check it out, what it involves, look at your calendar, and immediately say yes, no, or not right now. And again, if someone pushes back saying, oh, well, it's going to be recorded and you can watch it later, if you know that your time will not even allow for that, your energy will not allow for that, you can always say, I appreciate what you're doing. And I really, truly thank you for thinking of me. But I know right now that if I cannot go live to this event and watch this event live, I know without a doubt, I'm just not going to be able to watch them back either. So again, this is where I think many of us have to start because we're good at noticing everything else, right? We notice the tone of someone's email. We notice urgency in someone else's message. We notice what our clients need, what our family needs, where what would make a situation smoother. But do we notice ourselves before we disappear into the solution? Because I don't think we do a lot of the time. I don't think that a lot of the time when you are that person who's trusted, who's capable, who's always dependable, who's expected to be all of those things, it's not, for me, I think it's not about, I guess, saying like, how could I make all of everyone else feel better by my response of no, right? It's not necessarily about softening the blow. I think that's where we tend to go into that. I think like, oh, I don't really want to sound like a bad person. I don't want to sound like someone who's not reliable. But again, if you are already moving yourself off the calendar, it's really important to notice that, because when you become aware of that, when you understand the pattern, you have a choice. It might not be an easy choice, but at least it's your choice. You get to decide, okay, I'm aware now. Do I truly want this? And then the second step, of course, is alignment, right? It's where you ask, what would make this a clean yes, a clean no, or maybe just not right now? And it doesn't have to be perfect, just clean. Because sometimes maybe an answer is still yes, but it's a yes with a different timeline. Yes, right? Like I said, not right now. Maybe a different boundary, or maybe after I check my calendar, or not today because I'm committed to these other things and I just won't be able to fit this in. But I see that I have some open space here. Would that timing work for you? Again, if this is truly something that you do want to say yes to, but it doesn't have to be a yes for right now. Again, it's learning not to just move something that you already committed to for yourself because somebody else is saying their need is important. You also can say yes, but maybe you need more information, right? Or you can't do it the way they're asking. And again, that's just having a deeper conversations. And sometimes alignment is no. Like, I don't want to reduce alignment to no. It's really more about what would allow you to respond without abandoning yourself. Like that for me is alignment. So if this is a direct no, then no is a complete sentence. And it's not about being difficult or about being unavailable. It's not about making every request into a deep life analysis. It's about refusing to let your automatic yes keep deciding the shape of your life, because your yes is shaping your life. Every yes, every adjustment, every sure I can do that, every time that you move your own priorities to the bottom of the day. Every time that you say, I'll get to me later, that's not just time management. That's life design. That's energy design. That's how you're shaping your week, the shape of what gets built. And I think when we see it that way, we start understanding why alignment matters, because it's not just about one request. It's about the pattern that the request belongs to. So alignment asks, does it fit the life I say I want? Does it fit the energy I actually have? Does this fit the way I want to lead myself right now? And if it doesn't, what needs to shift before I answer? Again, allowing yourself just to be clear, like being aware and then clear if it really actually is in alignment. Some of the things too is that people make decisions based on the plan that they have for things. And I always say that you can have a plan, it's great, but I think part of that plan is for later, and sometimes part of that plan is for never. And I'll explain. So you could have, like, say you're working on your plan, you're on step 3, and you finish step 3, and all of a sudden something got revealed to you, and you're like, well, there's step 4, but this other thing over here is really drawing you to it. And you can either do 2 things. You can either explore that, which could possibly pivot you to something greater, something different, or you can continue down the plan and go to step 4. And it doesn't necessarily mean that either or is bad. Either or is right, I should say. But if you do decide to go and explore the new thing that was revealed to you, it doesn't mean that the 4th step is wrong either, right? It's just allowing yourself. So is it an alignment, this new vision idea, right? So that's what I'm saying. So now the third, which I've said, is application. This is where you do one small thing that tells your system, I heard you. I understand. I'm aware. I understand whether or not it's in alignment. And now I understand that the way I respond could be, as example, if someone asks you about something, say in a couple weeks, or next 2 months from now, or a month from now, we've got this great summit coming up. Would love to see you there. I'm not sure. Let me look at my calendar and I'll get back to you. That can be a very powerful sentence, right? Because it interrupts your old pattern, giving you space, letting your energy catch up with your mouth, letting you check the actual cost before you agree. It might be closing an email and taking 1 minute before responding, right? Instead of like automatically starting type and saying whatever you want to say to respond to it, you might just stand up from your desk, maybe, and just take 5 minutes. It might be taking your dog for a walk that you were about to sacrifice, that walk you were about to sacrifice, and instead take your dog for a walk. It might be looking at everything and then just doing the pros and the cons of it. Because sometimes I think when we can see what something can cost, like what gets shifted, it becomes harder, I think, to pretend that it's nothing. So application's not always big. It's, in fact, most of the time it's small, but small doesn't mean insignificant, because every time you pause before you override yourself, you're building trust with yourself. Every time you make your energy part of the decision, you stop treating yourself like the flexible piece in everyone else's plan. And every time that you take one small action that returns you to steady, you're teaching your system that it doesn't have to wait until exhaustion to be heard. That's what I mean by aligned energy. So you've got awareness, alignment, and application. And when you have these pieces that support how you say yes, no, or not right now, that's when you would be able to say like, oh, this is how I make my response clean. This is how I make my response work for me. And then you take that action, then you do what you need to do that supports you. Again, if it is a yes, let me look at my calendar. If it is a yes, I'm not sure. I'd like to, but it won't work today. If it is a yes, I feel like I can do this. But I need more information, right? Allowing yourself to get more information. There's nothing wrong with asking. That's how you begin to lead from your energy alignment instead of energetic survival. So I want to bring this back to you. Where are you making something work that your energy hasn't actually agreed to? Not because the request was wrong, but because maybe somewhere along the way, your ability to make room became the reason that you kept giving room. Maybe it's in your work, your business, your clients, your family, in the way you maybe respond so quickly that people never even realized you needed time to think. Maybe it's in the way you keep moving the thing that matters most to you because someone else's needs arrived with more volume. And again, I don't want you to judge yourself. Judgment doesn't live here and it doesn't help. Noticing helps, because once you notice it, then you can ask different questions, right? Instead of saying, can I do this? You start asking, what does it ask from me? Not can I fit this in, but what would I have to move to make room for it? Not will they understand, but will I keep trusting myself if I keep saying yes this way? Will I keep honoring my energy? Will I keep taking care of me if I keep saying yes this way? That's where the deeper work begins. And I think for so many of us, this is the part that can change everything, because we can spend a lot of time measuring our lives by what we could keep carrying. But I think when it comes to when we're thinking of our seasons of life and what's next for us, when we get to those points in our lives and asking ourselves, what's next for us, it's not necessarily looking too much at the bigger picture, but maybe allowing yourself first to listen sooner, to allow your signals to allow you to stop and take stock in those signals, to understand them, to become more aware of how you say yes, making sure that your yeses are in alignment with your life right now so that you can apply that decision framework more effectively to support you. Again, that's why one of the reasons I created the Faceless and Nameless gatherings, because I think there's so many of us that carry private questions maybe we haven't said out loud. Not necessarily that we're incapable of making decisions or that we don't know how to lead our own lives, but I think there's some truths that feel harder for us to say when we're, say, asking a question in a Facebook group, a community that's for us, that's specifically designed around who we are, for us to say it with the truth that we feel, how we feel. when we are actually applying our own personal filter to it. Instead, we use the anonymous filter, right? Because when your name, your face, your title, your role, your reputation enters the room first, we feel it's harder to say how we feel. And this is why I believe we need this space where you're not walking into the room as the professional woman, as the CEO, as the business owner, the leader or the expert or the one that everyone turns to. You just come in as the human that you are, someone who might be realizing that what looks manageable from the outside is asking for too much access to you. You are not looking to be fixed. You just need a place where the truth has somewhere to land. Your voice gets to lead the room. This is important. Your voice needs to be heard. And I think that's where social media, even though it's great to post, your voice isn't being heard. There's words on a page, but your emotion isn't coming necessarily through how you really truly feel when you're in a space where others can hear your voice. That's the heart of these gatherings. Why there's no name, there's no face, there's no title. It's just you, and I have a fun way of doing it. So I want to invite you. I have limited spaces. I'm only doing 10 people per gathering. Doing the first one on July 23rd at 12 Eastern, New York time. I'm keeping it small because I don't want it to feel like where you're getting lost in the shuffle. I don't want you to come into a space where you feel like this is where I'm coming to get coached or fixed. It's not like this. There's no recording. As I said, you come into the space and your voice is what enters the room. How you feel, what you think comes through in your voice. And again, I want it to be intimate. That's why I'm capping it at 10. And I want you to come in where you don't have to feel like you have to lead with who you are or what you do. I want you to feel supported. I want you to feel like you can come in and speak your truth without having to package it perfectly. So if this speaks to you, go to the show notes, find my email and send me an email saying yes to the gathering, and I'll send you the details to register. Now, again, it's going to happen on Thursday, July 23rd at 12 Eastern, New York time. Once the spaces are filled, then that'll be it for the first one. But I'm going to be running more. So even if you don't get into this round, I'll add your information to my spreadsheet. So I'm not adding you to my email list. I don't believe in doing that unless I ask for your permission. But what I am going to do is add you to a spreadsheet so that once the next ones come around, because then I will see how I'm going to do. If I might do 2 a month, then I can reach out to you and say, hey, the next 2 are these dates, and you can pick a date, register, and then we're good, right? That's what I want to do. So again, the first one's Thursday, July 23rd at 12 Eastern, it's coming up in a couple weeks, less than a couple weeks. And if you say yes to the gathering, I'll send you the details. Okay, take a deep breath. Whew. Okay. I'm going to take another sip of my tea. So thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. I really feel like this was important, an important conversation. A lot of the time, I just feel like we treat our availability as proof that we're capable, that we're reliable, that we're dependable. And so I want you to think about, like, where are you treating your ability to make something work as proof that it belongs in your life? I want you to sit with it. No judgment. Don't rush it. Just notice what comes up for you. Because I think sometimes, a lot of the time, I feel it's not necessarily about changing anything in the moment. It's about noticing where it lands, what comes up for you. Because sometimes, again, that first shift is just simply catching the moment before you move yourself out of the way again. I think that is the most important thing, because we put ourselves at the bottom of the barrel a lot of the time. And sometimes we never make it out of the barrel, and we move our own needs to again, the next day. And we keep moving it until at some point, our bodies push back, our brains push back and say, not now, stop. You need to deal with this, right? I don't want you to get to that place. I want you to have an extraordinary life every single day with joy, doing the things that you love. And that's my goal, is to support you in that way. So anyways, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Remember, you want in on the gatherings, send me an email. I'll add you to this round in July 23rd. I'll add you to this round. And if not, I'll add you to the spreadsheet. And once I plan the next gatherings, I will reach out to you, say this is when it's happening, send you the link to register so you can partake in that and experience being supported. As I said, just voices in the room. Anyways, thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.